Hey friends, welcome back to Reading to Write. Today's video is going to be a book haul. My birthday was recently, so I gifted some books to myself. I had some friends give some books to me, and then I have like a book of the month that came in that I thought I would throw into this. But first we're going to do a very small book unhaul because one of my local bookstores, actually my favorite secondhand bookstore in the area, they do this thing where they will allow you to trade books. So if I bring in a couple books, they accept them, then I get a certain amount of credits towards getting a used book from their store. So I'm pretty excited to do that today. And the three books that I'm going to be unhauling are The Coldest Touch. This was one of my most recent reads. It is a teen vampire romance story with a sapphic couple. So there's Elise, who is a death oracle, and then Claire, who is a vampire. The overall plot of the book was really good, but the romance was kind of annoying, mostly because Claire was an insufferable character, and I will get more into that in a future video when I actually talk about my reads for the year, but I don't want to keep it on my bookshelf, so I will be unhauling that today. The second book I will be unhauling is Blood and Honey. This book, I got to page 278, which is a little bit over halfway through the book. Serpent and Dove was one of my favorite books that I read a few years ago. It is about a witch and a witch hunter who fall in love. It's enemies to lovers. It's set in a historic France, which is a cool setting. The main character, Lou, was such a lovable character. Her relationship with Reed was very interesting. I loved their development. There's a twist at the end of the book that I absolutely loved. So I was really excited to read this book, and I absolutely hated it. I rage quit this book probably 3 times before I ultimately gave up. And I had an idea that I was gonna return to it, but literally every single time I look at this book, that rage just comes back, and I just can't do it. So I really don't think that I will ever be reading this again. This is a failed corruption arc story. I'm sure they give a reason for why the corruption arc happens in this later on in the book, but it doesn't happen gradually. It's literally snap a finger and the character that I loved so much is gone. She's being an absolute asshole for absolutely no reason, and I just I couldn't take it. So I will be unhauling this, and unfortunately, moral of the story, never pre-order a book before you get through the previous sequel, because I pre-ordered this because I loved Serpent and Dove so much that I assumed that I would love the other book, so I pre-ordered this when it was first coming out, and now I hate the second book and I will never read the third book, so I'm just gonna unhaul it with the other one. So these will be the 3 books that I'm unhauling. Hopefully I get a good amount of credits so I can get a couple books to replace these on my bookshelf, but yeah, we'll see. You know how when you go to get rid of some books, you end up leaving with more books? Yeah. To start out with the book haul that I got today alone, I got these 4 books. I ended up getting a good amount of credit for the books that I traded in, which I'm pretty happy about because I was able to get these 3 for free. Backstory about the Harry Potter books: I had a copy at my parents' house, which most of them are either still there or they're pretty beat up and kind of destroyed now after so many years. So I really wanted to get another copy for myself and my book collection here. Also because I want to read them again as an adult to see, things that maybe I didn't pick up on the first time, or just to reread the books again in general since I haven't read them since I was a teenager. But I didn't really want to buy a copy just because I don't want to feed into harmful opinions, so I really didn't want to spend any new money on it. So I've been keeping an eye on the secondhand bookstore that I go to see if and when they might have some copies that I could get for free by trading in, and I was able to get enough to get The Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, and Prisoner of Azkaban, which is my favorite from the Harry Potter series, so I'm pretty excited about that, to at least begin getting the collection back, because one day I would like to do a video on me reading them again. And then an extra book that I got, which was past the threshold that I had, but I really wanted to get it anyway, was The Hounds of the Baskerville. This is one of the few classics that I read when I was younger in school. I don't think it was necessarily high school, it might have been middle school or junior high school, but I remembered really liking The Hound of the Baskervilles, and I really want to read it again since I only have a very fuzzy recollection of it, so I'm looking forward to this one. The next 2 books don't really fall into the birthday book haul that I had, but I wanted to include them anyway since I did get them like within the last like month and a half. The first is The Bones of Fairy. This I got from a little library, which if you don't know what a little library is, it's basically like a birdhouse with like a glass door filled with books that people from the community leave. So it's kind of like a way to trade books with complete strangers. You can go see what books are in them, and then if you want to get rid of a book that you can't anywhere else, you can leave them in the little library and then somebody else might pick them up. I really love them. They're all kind of all around the area that I'm in. I'm sure they're in other places in the country too. It's a young adult book about a place where fairies came and there was like this great war which they defeated the fairies, but now all magic is banned. Wherever this book takes place, I don't actually know, but there's a young girl who exhibits magic and her father is kind of the one who's in charge of getting rid of any people or things that contain magic. So it's all about her trying to like figure out why she has these powers and like all of the secrets that have been buried since this war between humans and fairy happened. So I picked it up because I've mentioned in my previous videos I am writing a book about a fairy world that's parallel with our universe. So I thought it might, I don't know, give me some inspiration or ideas that, you know, I might want to explore. Not that I would ever steal ideas from another writer, but like I've said in, you know, past videos as well, inspiration can come from anywhere, you know, even just like seeing how other people do it so I can see how I could do it differently can be very helpful to a writer. So the other book that doesn't fall into the birthday book haul is the book of the month that I got for June, Lady Tan's Circle of Women. This book is actually a literary fiction book, I think, so I might try to read this for my literary fiction goal. If you saw my goals for 2023 video, you'll know what I'm talking about. This book, I think, is about a girl named Yunzian. Sorry if I butchered that. I really don't know how to say a lot of words that are just standard boring English. And Yunzian is a apprentice to her grandmother, who is one of the only female doctors in China. So she's learning about medicine and she has this best friend who's a midwife, but she gets roped into an arranged marriage. So I think the book is all about her trying to like keep her freedom and like help other women with her abilities as a doctor while trying to manage the expectations of what women are supposed to be like in arranged marriages. So the next 5 books that I have are books that I had for my birthday book haul. The first one is called All the Murmuring Bones. This is a gothic tale about a family who makes a deal with mer people. They give one child every generation in exchange for safe passage across the sea. And then there's this one girl, Mirren, who has to deal with the consequences of this after like a period where the family couldn't hold up their end of the bargain, so things are kind of going awry and she's kind of their hope to fix it. I don't really know much more about this book outside of that, but I'm pretty excited to read it. The next book I got was To Shape a Dragon's Breath. This book is about a young indigenous woman who bonds with a dragon, and she's the only one outside of like Anglo-Saxon people who does. So she's forced to go to this school with all of these other English, they call it, kids who've bonded with dragons to learn how to use the powers in conformity with this society. I am pretty excited to read this one because dragons are my absolute favorite type of magical creature, and I have quite a few books specifically around dragon riders that I might do a themed reading vlog for, so keep an eye out for that. The next book that I got for my birthday was A Darker Shade of Magic. This is a very popular book, so I'm sure most of you already know what this is about. I bought this cover because I really love the green shade to it, but this is basically about a world where there are different types of Londons, parallel realities that this one magician can like kind of bounce around to. I don't really know much more about the book outside of that, but I did really like V.E. Schwab's Gallant, so I think that this will be a good read. The next book that I got was The Encyclopedia of Fairies. Again, this is another book that I think might help me with my own book, even if, you know, if this is an actual encyclopedia of fairies, maybe it'll show me some creatures that I could use that I haven't heard of before. This is basically about a professor and scholar who's very obsessed with fairies, and she's trying to write this encyclopedia about them. So she like goes to this village in the far north looking for information on fairies, and she gets like wrapped up in another mystery. I don't really know what the mystery is. The back of the book doesn't really give a good indication on it, except for who is Wendell Bambley. B. See, I can't even say that name. Ridiculous. I am a terrible speaker. Yeah, who is this person and what does he really want? I love the cover for this book. It is like a hardcover, but this is like printed on, there's no dust jacket, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. I really, really love this edition. And then the final book I got for my birthday, which I am also really excited to read, is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I've heard great things about this book. It's a gothic tale about a guy who married a woman named Indigo, and so he moves into this house with her, but there are all these secrets about the house and her, and he's kind of like getting scared the more and more that he learns about her. It sounds like it's going to be a very tragic gothic love tale, so I am really looking forward to reading this book. And again, a beautiful cover, and I love that it has like the serrated like page edges. Those are the 11 books that I've got recently. Many of them, almost half of them, for my birthday, which thank you to all of my friends who contributed to my ever-growing book collection. I really appreciate it, and thank you all for watching this video. If you've made it to this segment of the video, I really appreciate your attention span staying here. See you next time.
Do you believe we could do anything?